It's not always easy to maintain a clutter-free home, and it can be even more difficult for someone that's never really tried before. As a minimalist, I've had years and years of practice at this, so today I'm going to be sharing my favorite tips and practices for how to maintain your space in a clean and clutter-free way. When you first start decluttering, it can be really easy to get caught up in the moment and end up getting rid of more things than you actually should. I see this a lot with newcomers and people that are just getting into the swing of this sort of stuff. You end up overhauling your entire house or apartment. There's a video I watched a couple months back from Craig Adams, and he kind of talked on this from his own personal experience where he bought and sold a bunch of his camera gear over and over again just because he got caught up in that rush of things. You want to make sure and take it, room by room, and even within one single room, break it down. If you're in your bedroom, tackle the dresser. Take a few days to handle the dresser, and then tackle, under your bed. So just take these small steps and work from there. It's a long process, and you want to make sure that you're only getting rid of the things that you won't actually use and that you don't really need. Does it add aesthetic value or functional value to my life? Those are kind of the two criteria that I aim to achieve. And in an ideal scenario, everything I have covers both of those. But because I don't have an unlimited budget to live, that's not always going to be the case. I always look to something if I'm debating if I should get rid of it or not, and figure out if it's really adding value and enjoyment to my life, or if it's serving in a functional way. That's a really easy core principle to keep in mind when you're doing this. Don't feel bad about the things that add value to you. It's not a competition. Remove that guilt that you might feel from other people or from other minimalists that you might see out in the internet. Just make sure that it's adding value to you, and that's all that matters. Mise en place is a French cooking term meaning everything in its place. This is something that I try and implement throughout my life entirely, even outside of the kitchen. Everything I own has a home in an organizational sense. Everything has a place that it belongs to, and it's a great way to stay on top of things and to make sure that you have a spot to put things back when you're done with them. When you have like a cluttered table full of junk and you don't really have spots for all of these things, things can pile up and build up and you don't realize what you have, and you end up buying more stuff, or you end up not being able to find something when you might be needing to use it. So just make sure that everything you own has a place within your space, and that way you'll be able to keep it clean and decluttered, and you'll be able to actually use and enjoy the things that you have. For minimalists, there's an inherent respect for the items that we choose to keep in our lives, and there's also that respect translated into the space that we choose to occupy. I think this is important to keep in mind, and there are a lot of different strategies and methods to kind of implement this principle within your life. It's not something I personally do, but a lot of people like and utilize kind of a one in, one out mentality with their space. If you're bringing something into your closet per se, when you buy a new top, you're going to take one of the tops out that you no longer use. It's a great way to keep things from getting out of hand. Me being further down the road, there's not really a lot that I'm getting rid of because I don't have anything that I'm not using at this point. This is something that I recalibrate and reset every once in a while, but it's just really important to make sure that you're respecting your space in the same way that you'd respect your own mind or your own body, even if it's not something that you realize. A cluttered, out-of-hand space is going to cause stress in your life. It's also very important to know and realize that even the things that bring value into your life have a cost. Whether it's a maintenance cost or a monetary cost or, a space cost. Things take up space within your home, and it's important to make sure that you understand the costs of the things that you're bringing into your space and into your life. If you're struggling to maintain your new decluttering mindset, or you're struggling when you're just getting started, I think it's really important to make sure to try and have fun when you go through this process. This is something I've been doing since I was a teenager. I grew up cleaning my room in the summer months when school was out, and I would put on actually all of the Lord of the Rings extended commentaries, and I would just listen to the commentaries and casually watch while I cleaned up my room and I cleaned up my space. Find a really good podcast or an audiobook or a TV show that you can just kind of have on in the background if you're marathoning another run of The Office. Just make sure that you try and have fun with it. Incorporate it into your routine and into your life, and make sure that you're enjoying it, because if you're not enjoying the process, you're not going to stick to it. Nostalgia is the plague of a decluttered home. You want to make sure that all of the items are serving you in some capacity, and I'm not saying that you should get rid of everything that brings back those good memories for you, every physical item, but it can very easily get out of hand, and you can also hold on to items because you feel guilty or bad because they were a gift, but you don't really use them anymore. This is one of the most common problems that I see from a lot of people. We actually have kind of a keepsake box that we keep in the back of our closet, just one Rubbermaid tote, and we've confined ourselves to that single tote to keep any keepsake and memory type of items. One really good trick that I've picked up and has worked really well for my wife and I over the years, if you have an item that you want to hold on to those good memories, take a picture of it before you donate it or sell it. This is a really great way to combat that what if mentality. If you end up missing the memories at some point down the road, you can pull up your camera roll on your phone, look through, scroll through, see those items. You still get to keep all of those memories in your head, but you don't have to deal with all of the clutter and the wasted space within your home. This is going to be a little bit different for everyone, I understand, but make sure that the items that you have are being used or enjoyed, and if they're not, don't feel guilty about getting rid of them. Always get something again down the line if you figure out that you will need it again. The secondhand market for most goods, you can make back 80 to 90% of what it costed new, and then you can pocket that item, enjoy the decluttered space, and if the time ever does come down the road where you need it again, you can repurchase it guilt-free, and you can even buy it secondhand again and keep that cycle going. I buy and sell used things pretty often, especially with my photo and video gear. I'm always changing out and swapping things, and it's a great way to be able to get new things that will serve you better without completely losing out on all of the cost if you were to, say, donate something. Go through all of your just-in-case sort of items, and any of the ones that you know that you could replace down the road if you need them, sell them or donate them. So you've evaluated all of your items, you've overhauled your space, it was a long process, you're happy now, you can take a deep breath. Now you have to maintain it. This is often the harder part. People get that rush and that high from getting rid of everything and starting fresh and overhauling. The real difficulty lies in maintaining it. Like we talked about in the tips earlier, make sure that you're enjoying the process. Make sure that you have a proper place for everything that you keep in your apartment or house. Just make sure that you're setting up all of these systems in place to make sure that you're going to adhere to your new decluttered lifestyle and actually want to stick to it long term. Because if you find yourself needing to overhaul constantly, you're not really going to be reaping the benefits of a decluttered life. And let me tell you, like I said, this has been kind of a lifetime thing for me. I've always enjoyed keeping things organized and having things in their place, and it makes for a much less stressful day-to-day. And I hope you enjoy these tips. Let me know if you have any more that you'd like to share down below. I'd love to hear them. I'm sure the audience would love to hear them too. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.